This is V from A Canadian RVer. What I'm doing in this video is I'm actually put a switch together to allow me to disconnect the steps, the propane detector, which is 12 volts, and what I found is when I connected my lithium ion batteries, when I removed them to put in the lithium ion, I noticed that there was a few wires that were connected to the positive terminal of the battery, therefore always drawing on the batteries. So if I was to disconnect the switch, like the battery disconnect switch, these wires were still on the positive terminal before the switch, and it was causing my batteries to drain. So I didn't want that with my lithium ion. So what I've done here now, this is just the same situation where I've got one battery, two batteries, and then I'm going to put a switch between that battery terminal right there, which is the positive, to here, and then that's going to look after my propane detector, my steps, and whatever the other 2 or 3 wires are. So that way it won't kill the battery when I disconnect, because way over here is probably where my disconnect switch is that stops the batteries from connecting to the coach or the house part of the system, which is 12 volts, which is lighting, which is control for other stuff. So that's what we're doing. We're going to actually now put a switch in between all these wires that control the propane, the steps, and various other things. We're going to put a switch right in here. And here's what the switch looks like. Now, this switch is good for 50 amps. I don't think I'll need anything near that. So I've just made a little harness here, and here's where it's going to go on to the battery terminals, because I'll show you what I did. When I put in my lithium ion batteries, I had a chance to put in a jumper so that all of them are not on the batteries. They're just on a jumper cable, and that's the connections there. So what we'll do is we'll break the connection with that 50 amp switch. I'm going to mount it on this little part here, and I'll show you when I get outside. So what we're doing right now is we're disconnecting everything off my lithium ion batteries, and by doing that, then I can just charge them fully, leave them in their place, turn off the coach switch, the battery isolation switch, and then turn off this new switch that I'm putting together to allow the batteries to have nothing connected to them through that 50 amp toggle switch. So let's go outside and I'll show you where it all is supposed to go. So where I am right now is where I have 2 of my lithium ion batteries, and they're underneath this step right here. So I've just opened up both the locks. I'm going to pull this back a little bit, and you can see where the batteries are all sitting right in here. And that's my Battleborn batteries that I replaced in the other video. And right in that bag right there is where I have all my other connections. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a minute. So I'm just going to open that up, but I wanted to show you where the batteries were and what it looks like. And there's my battery disconnect switch right there. So that disconnects the batteries off the main coach system. So let me open it up and we'll carry on. So now what I'm going to start doing is just removing all the tie wraps. And why I had them in this little plastic bag is that there's fuses, inline fuses, where the manufacturer put certain things on it, and the fuses are right in there. So just to keep them dry from moisture and water, I wanted to just keep them dry in the bag. So I'm just cutting the tie wraps off for that. Now what I did when I installed my lithium ion batteries, I actually came off the back positive terminal, and the wire that you'll see connected to this, all the extra wires, and that red wire that goes to the back, that one right there, that goes to the positive terminal. So rather than taking all these terminals back to the battery, I extended it out to here. But then after looking at it, I've noticed that these come right off the battery, and that sometimes it's not a good idea to have these hooked up, especially if you're going to winterize the coach for a long period of time. So I'm just going to remove all the tape off it. And you can see I did a pretty good tape-up job when I did it the first go around, just to keep any moisture out of it. So what I've done is I'm going to speed up the video here just a little bit to shorten the time. I'm just going to take the rest of this tape off a little quicker. So now what I'm doing is I'm removing the connection to the positive side of the batteries. Now what I've done is I've installed my 50 amp switch, and I'm going to mount it right about there, and you can see that it's working fine. Now I got the two ends on the other side of the switch, and what I plan to do is I'm going to hook up, well, the wires are still connected, right? You can see them with the bolt that goes right through and there's all the fuse inline fuse holders on all the different devices that they run, like the steps, like the propane detectors, and there's a few other ones that I was never able to trace, but they all did come off the battery, and I understand why you'd want your steps to come off the battery, because even if you threw the battery control disconnect switch, that would turn off the coach batteries or the coach supply of the battery. You would then want your steps. So for you to open the door and climb into your RV, you'd want the steps to be always powered, plus the propane detector and so on. But I can see that when you're using the coach. But if I'm not going to use it for a long period of time, I still don't want that little bit of trickle power coming off the batteries. So what I'm doing right now here is I'm tightening the screw, the bolt, through all of the various fuse holder lines, and I've got it connected to one side of the switch, and if you look carefully, you'll see where I've got it connected to the other part of the switch, and of course the other part of the switch is connected to where all those wires with the fuse lugs were on them on the other side. So now what we've done is broken it up with that inline switch, and with this opportunity what I can do is be able to turn off those last few little things. Now what I want to do is still tighten this down really good, and I know the bolt's a little bigger than what I should have used, but I just didn't want to stop the process to find a smaller one. I didn't have them with me at this point in time, and we'll probably change in the future the next time I'm in there. But it still worked. It had the same nuts, the same threads on it, just a little longer. But it turned out very well. It still did the job for what I wanted it to do. So we're going to tape it back up. And trying to put a good coat of electrical tape on it. So there we go. That's all taped up. So now what I've done is I've got the hot side, then through the switch, and I'll just give you a close-up view here of what it looks like. And now I'm going to turn the switch on, and you can see where the step lights and the steps are activated again. So this is V from A Canadian RVer. Please subscribe to our channel, please give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next video.